Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Plug in India. In this episode, we're going to be talking to Mr. Vivek Srivatsa, Head of Marketing and Sales Strategy at Tata Motors. Today we saw the unveil of the Tata Nexon Max and we cannot wait to ask your questions to Mr. Vivek. So let's get started. Vivek, it was a fantastic launch. The car has so many great features and we cannot wait to hear from you about all the features that it has, and we cannot wait to get our hands on the car and get to drive the car and see for ourselves what that's like. The community is just a buzz right now. They are so excited. They have so many questions that they want to ask you, and we hope we can get all of them answered in the time that we have. So, my very first question is, people are really excited to get their hands on the Max. So, the first and most obvious question is, when can they get their hands on it?
So bookings open today, and the cars which have been produced so far are on their way to the dealerships. So it's a question of how quickly they book, and if they can be first in line, they can get the cars very soon.
And when can these first customers get their hands on the car? Any estimate on the timeline, the month?
Like I said, the cars are already on the way to the dealerships. So while booking starts now, the deliveries also start immediately. So the sooner people book, manage the purchase process, the earlier they can get. Obviously, the caveat is the number of bookings versus the number of cars produced. So
Okay.
early birds will definitely get it faster, and others will might have to wait depending on how many bookings we get.
All right. So the Tata is already selling its EVs in about 75 cities in India. Now this car is looks like it has the potential to be a super successful EV. It looks like it can sell in large numbers, but for that, targeting tier two and tier three cities is very important. So what are Tata plans for those cities?
So in my talk during the launch, I had already mentioned that we are expanding our network footprint almost every day, and this year the target is to take it into another 70 towns. And I believe the smaller towns are fairly ready to welcome EVs, because we've seen that the customer mindset is pretty much there in terms of acceptance of using EVs as a daily personal use car. It's only about us reaching them, and we'll hopefully cover a lot more cities and their satellite areas going forward this year.
Wow, so 70 cities in a single year. That's really unprecedented. So, best of luck with that. But tell me something, are you going to have dedicated EV showrooms for these cars? Or, like, for example, what Maruti has with the Nexa brand, or are you going to continue selling the EVs from the same cars that you sell the petrol cars? The reason I'm asking this is because we've heard from people in our own community who have had disappointing experiences at dealerships where sometimes the salesperson does not know much about the car or they face issues with delivery. So, what are your plans for that
See,
to counter that?
the Tata passenger vehicle ICE network is pretty large and among the best. We are the number very close to be the number two player in the country, very strong number three player. So obviously the network has a lot of advantages. It gives us, the stability, the support, and the reach across the country. Yes, we need to enhance the customer experience for EVs independently, and we'll work towards that in how can we treat our EV customers differently and better. If it means having the need to have a few independent showrooms is something we need to think about. It's a network strategy we still have not crystallized upon, but we'll evaluate basis how we are able to meet customer needs in the future.
Okay, okay. So, we might possibly might see dedicated showrooms in the future.
Yeah, depending on customer needs. How the first priority obviously is to piggyback on the current PV stores and probably create an independent identity for EVs within the PV stores. But in case that doesn't work in certain areas, we can look at other options, is what I would say. So
Okay.
I'm not saying that we'll go for independent EV stores, but all I'm saying is that we'll create an independent experience for EV customers.
Okay, okay. So that sounds quite exciting, and I'm excited to see what the coming year holds. Now, the Tata Nexon has its EV has sold nearly 20,000 units since 2020. I think that would make the Nexon the most successful EV in India just without argument. Considering the unprecedented success so far, how ambitious about are you about your plans for FY 22-23?
Yeah, I've been asked this question a lot today, and my simple answer has been that our ambition is about looking at growth not in terms of percentage, but in terms of multiplying factor, and that should give you an idea about the kind of growth we are looking at.
Okay, okay. So you're being a bit secretive, but okay. Let's see what the coming year holds. Uh, Now, the ARAI range for this car is 440 kilometers nearly. But of course, that is the ARAI range. It is almost never reflective of the real world range. Let's say I'm driving the car on the highway and I'm doing 80 kilometers per hour, which is the average for how the most Indian drivers drive. What do you think is the most realistic range that I can expect to get?
Yeah. So see, EV range obviously depends hugely on external factors like the driving style, the amount of region applied, the kind of terrain you're driving in, the weather conditions, and the external conditions play a far more role in range than what traditional cars in terms of ICE powertrains have. However, I can give you an indicator saying that the battery pack is 30% larger than the current Nexon. But
Right?
other efficiency enhancements in terms of aero as well as IV back and region add significantly, maybe another few percentages to the driving range. And you can probably put an estimate if a owner of a current Nexon EV is getting X, you could add maybe anything between 35 to 40% higher with the EV Max is what I would say as a back of an envelope calculation. So battery size enhancements plus other tech improvements is going to give a added range.
Okay. All right. So we are ourselves going to be putting the Max to its paces very soon. So you guys
Yeah.
can expect to get an answer to that question very, very soon. So moving on to the next question. The Tigor EV has underwent NCAP testing and it got an NCAP rating of 4 out of 5 stars. What about the Max? Do you plan to put that through NCAP testing too? Because we feel that will increase customer confidence in the car.
Yeah. So the one is, I mean, the Nexon EV Max is built on the same platform as the Nexon, which won the GNCAP 5 star back in 2020. We'll definitely send this for testing again, but at the right time because there are some change in regulations coming in, and we want to be ready for that.
Okay. Okay. Fine. All right. Uh, I hope we get more news on that as it develops. Um, Now, let's say a customer wants to is opt for 7.2 kilowatt AC charging for his Max, and he or she lives in a flat in an apartment building. Uh, what will they need to go do? Will they need to have a three phase
Yeah.
connection? Will they need to get a separate meter? And
Yeah.
will
So
Tata what will Tata
three phase is the primary requirement to get the 7.2 charger working. Otherwise, the
do, right?
7 will work at a much lower efficiency and there's no point paying for it. So when a customer books a car, we have a team from Tata Power who will go to the customer's house and probably will do a tech recce and see if it's possible to enhance. When first step is to see whether he or she has got a three-phase connection. If not, is it possible to apply and get it? And if the customer is willing to do that. So there'll be a little bit of a counseling session and a discussion which happens with the Tata Power team. There are a lot of customers who might say that I don't need the faster AC charger at home. I'll just charge it once and use it for 4 5 days and charge it again with the 3.3. There are a lot of customers there, and that's the reason why we've given this option to customers. But yes, the three-phase connection is the primary requirement to make the 7.2 kilowatt charger operational.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Now I have another question related to that. There are a lot of tech features that the Max is offering. Let me just quickly go through them. You have the ESP, the Electronic Stability Program, IV back braking, which is intelligent vacuum-less boost and active control braking, rollover mitigation, after impact braking. Now, all this sounds like a lot of marketing jargon. So, can you explain what these features are in simple terms for our
So
viewers?
it's not marketing jargon, it's technical jargon, I would say, because
Yeah.
ESP is Electronic Stability Program. It's one of the key safety features to prevent, accidents, I would say. What ABS was 15 years back, it is ESP now. I don't want to get into anything more technical than that. IV back is basically, it. Uh, how do I say, it's about enhanced regeneration during braking. In the earlier Nexon, or in fact IV back, Nexon EV Max is the only EV in India offering IV back. Early other EVs depend on the driving style to create regeneration while braking. There's something called a two pedal drive, where you want to slow down, you allow the engine or the car to slow down itself so that you have regeneration. But what IV back does is, even if a customer uses the brake pedal, the car decides whether it is going to use traditional braking or the powertrain braking, and basis that it optimizes the regeneration. So for simple customer language, it is to say that the car automatically decides the extent and the kind of braking required. We call it brake balancing, actually, where it decides whether the car needs traditional braking or the regenerative braking, and accordingly it decides on its own depending on the conditions. And this feature alone will enhance the range of the car by about 3 to 4%.
Okay. And what about rollover mitigation?
Rollover mitigation is a safety feature which ensures that the car doesn't topple. It automatically adjusts the tire direction, speed, and rotational speed to ensure that the car is always upright.
Okay, okay. All right. So we are going to do a video on the car soon. So hopefully we can explain to our viewers all these features much better.
Don't
Uh,
don't try out rollover mitigation, please.
and hopefully, won't be in a scenario where that will happen.
Yeah.
We are all careful drivers, thankfully.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Moving on to the next question. We have a huge Nexon EV owners club. We recently met all those people in Delhi, and they're such incredible, passionate people. Passionate not just about EVs, but also about the Nexon EV. They're huge fans. They were the first people to go out and buy the Nexon EV 2 years ago when it launched, and now they are super duper excited about ESP and IV back braking and custom regen, hill hold, all these things, and they are wondering, is it possible to have some kind of hardware software upgrade so that they can enjoy these features? I think that's only fair considering that they were the very first people who went out and bought the Nexon EV. So what do you think?
Unfortunately, not possible, because a lot of these are hardware cum software elements, and many of them require additional configuration of the car itself. So unfortunately, not possible. But they're welcome to upgrade to the EV Max when they feel like.
And will you give them some kind of incentive for doing that?
Not right now. Not right now. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. My final question. The Tata Nexon EV launched in the middle of the first wave of the pandemic, I think. And since then, and despite that, it went on to do very well, extremely well. But then the EV industry has faced problems like semiconductor shortages and so on because of the pandemic. And the pandemic itself is not going away. We've had the first wave and the second wave, the third wave. Now there's talk of a fourth wave coming. In the coming year, what steps does Tata intend to take to mitigate these problems, or to ensure that production does not get disrupted because of any unforeseen problems related to the pandemic?
Yeah. So the first thing I'd like to say is production, far from being disrupted, we have actually accelerated production substantially. In the initial months, we hardly sold a few Nexons, right? And in the last quarter alone, we sold close to 9,000 EVs, which
Wow.
is the same as what we sold in the previous 9 months, actually. So production, in fact, has gone up by 3 times in the last 1 year, despite all the issues. But semiconductor issues and other disruptions are not just because of COVID. It's also because of many other supply chain issues and cost impacts and all that. And I've been saying in all my interactions that every day there's a new problem. And the phrase that the world is a small place has never been more true, because some incident somewhere in the world ends up impacting supplies and supply chain significantly in other parts of the world. So we are in a very dynamic situation where we don't know where the next problem is going to come in. But in this background, we have still managed to enhance our production. The longer waiting period is more a reflection of the kind of demand that we are seeing despite the production enhancement. But the fact that we've launched the Nexon EV Max means that we are confident to take up our production even higher. Uh, uh, and that is an assurance we can give you. But where we can't assure is that on the delivery timelines and such, because that is decided by by the demand that will likely to be coming in. But I can assure you and your community that the fact that we've launched a new product means that we are enhancing capacity significantly in the coming months.
Right. Okay. All right. Great. One bonus question, and I'm sure a lot of our community members want to hear the answer to this question. When is the dark edition of the Max coming
We'll get it very soon. Not an issue. Yeah.
Okay. No timeline. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're holding your cards close.
Like I said, it's such a dynamic situation. I don't know what cars I'm going to produce tomorrow, and the entire auto industry is that way. So unfortunately, we can't give timelines. Not because we don't want to, but because we are unable to. There are so many disruptions happening. But dark edition is something which will come soon.
Okay. Okay. All right, Vivek. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
great pleasure talking to you. Just now before the interview, you were saying that you had heard a lot about us, and it's always such an honor to hear that from you guys. And of course, we heard a lot about you too. And it's always during these interactions that we get to put the faces to the names. So this was a really great event for me, and I was very happy to talk to you. Congratulations on the fantastic launch, and I'm really looking forward to driving the new Nexon EV Max.
Enjoy yourself and take care.